So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our morning meditation, our guidepost here in the Way. And today I've based what I want to say to you on a poem that I wrote back in 2017 called Breathe. And this is what the poem says. The ego fails me, the authentic me. I see no point to its drama. I am alive. I am sentient. I am awareness. I am awakened. I am conscious. I am breathing. My breath is who I am. And yet, when my breathing ends, when my physicality is done with, I will fill the universe with my presence. All the pettiness of what seemed important will be engulfed with love. The love which is my real purpose here. Therefore, I am at peace as I breathe. Breathe. I was, it was it couldn't be that much of a cold day, but it must have been this cold day, and I breathed out and I saw my breath. Or maybe I was near the fridge and I saw my breath. And I thought, that's me. That's who I am. You know, whatever, you know, when you smack that baby's bottom and it starts crying, then it's got breath in its lungs. And that's when the physical side of life begins, external to the womb on its own. And until you breathe your last, that is who you are. And the breath itself is something that you borrow from the atmosphere. You breathe it in and then you breathe it out. But without it, you're not alive. So it is our breath that is who we are. And because of that, I wrote this poem. And we tend to think of ourselves as the one that asserts our own wishes, sometimes in a selfish way. That we call that the ego, and it fails me. It actually brings me to a place where I don't want to be, because people dislike you when you start throwing your weight about, and people when your ego is in play, people take a lower view of you than when you allow your spirit, what I call the authentic me, to take its place and for love to express itself through this physicality. So I said in the poem, I see no point to its drama. Long term, you know, whether you've thrown your toys out the pram, whether you've stamped your feet and said it's not fair, it doesn't really matter in the end. And that what really does matter is the fact that we're alive, that we're sentient, we're aware, we're awake, we're conscious. And that's all in this physical 3D, 4D form, because we're breathing. You stop breathing, there's a list of them in the paper every night, all in alphabetical order, that have stopped breathing. So my breath is who I am. And yet, if you say, well, if you're telling me, Andrew, that you're just your breath, and that one day that breath is going to stop, and what becomes of you then? What's the point of being alive? But then, I don't know if you've ever read there's a book called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, and the book describes someone's communication of what happens beyond death. And it's whether it is actually a proper conversation or whether it's just made up, I don't know. But it sounds really interesting. You'd think once you've died, that's it. But there's all these different stages to go through with your spirit after you die. And it was fascinating reading The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And I'm referring to that because the last communication, I'm probably spoiling the end of the book for anyone who decides to read it because of what I've just said. But the end of the book is, I feel, he's talking to his sister, I feel that I am filling the universe. And so that's where I put my poem, you know, when my physicality is done with, I'm going to fill the universe with my presence. And okay, it's a faith thing, and it's based on this story that I read, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, but it sounds completely believable when I've thought about spirituality, I've thought about Christianity, religion, different people's faith. And from about 1976, my dad, he wrote he preached a sermon based on this Reader's Digest article about near-death experiences. And when it came to his trial sermon, this is before they allow you out on your own, he preached on the New Jerusalem, what Revelation talks about, the new heaven and the new earth. He did a sermon on that, and I've never heard anybody preach on that, but my dad preached on that for his trial sermon. I wasn't there, so that's why I say I've never heard any, but I know that he wrote such a sermon because I've got all his notes. So yes, when all this pettiness has come to an end, it's everything that's ever been, I believe, and I don't think I'm doing myself or anyone else any harm, even if I'm proved to be wrong, but I believe that all the pettiness, when it's ended, then all that's left is love. And that's really what we should be aiming for before we die, rather than afterwards. So all the things that seem important to us at the moment of death will be engulfed with love. And that's what I believe that's what our purpose is here. And that's why I'm at peace. And that's why I'm able to breathe. Because one of the things that you don't do when you're panicking is breathe. You're hyperventilating, aren't you? So the poem just ends with the one word, and it's a command. It's with an exclamation mark. It's breathe, you know. You got to breathe, you know, because when you're in a panic, that's what people say to you. Just breathe. When you're giving that. I've been there at the birth of all four of my children. It's just breathe, you know, breathe into this. If I don't breathe, I'll be dead. So you've got to breathe, haven't you? I went for a breathing test at hospital because of my blood clots, and I told them as soon as I got there, the people who were doing the actual test, I said, they told me I got to come here to see you to have a breathing test. I said, well, if I'm not breathing, I won't show up. So I'm going to read my poem again. Oh no, first of all, before I do read my poem again, I'd love to hear any feedback that you have. I know that you've got a poor connection, Catherine, but maybe you could share a few thoughts before I read it again.
Yeah, I just think that was it's wonderful that it's and the synchronicity of your posts. There's always something that's very, very meaningful in them, and so thank you for doing them, Andrew. Today is a year ago. It's my dad's birthday today, and this time last year, my mum was dying. She was been brought home, and so she was struggling to breathe. And every time, you know, she would sort of stop, and then she'd take another breath. She was fighting what is inevitable for all of us. And yeah, so it's very poignant that we're talking about it today. I believe that she passed away today, but she's down as passing tomorrow. My dad's birthday, I think that she hung on to be with my dad on his birthday, and tried not to leave him on his birthday. She was found in the morning of the 26th. But whether she did or whether she didn't is not irrelevant. But she stopped, she took a final breath. But it's actually my spiritual beliefs, and part of what you talk about there is that it helped me so much, because I know that she didn't die. She was removed out of my physical presence. But I feel her today, especially, and I feel her every day. But today she's especially in my thoughts. It's my dad's birthday, and yeah, I'm very close to the time that she died. So yeah, it just brought me peace. Just thinking that your words are just so apt for this time in my life.
It's strange when I'm picking what I'm going to. I've got that many inspirational poems now, definitely into the hundreds, and some of them rhyme and some of them don't. But it's what's in my face. It's like I'm going up and down all the in my hard drive, all the different files. And it's whatever stands out, and Breathe just stood out when I was, and I was surprised myself with it, because yesterday I was talking about all the I ams, and I was talking about the I ams in a negative way. We become what we say we are. So this poem is more of a declaration of the good things that we are, and I think it does focus. It is something that I personally think about, the fact that human existence ends, and there is no proof of anything beyond. There's no scientific, not yet. There's no scientific proof of what happens beyond death. There is some quantum theory around it, I think, but I'm only a layperson. I don't really understand all the ins and outs of quantum physics, but there is certainly something there that is pointing us, from a scientific point of view, in a direction of study that may indeed open up in future time some kind of scientific definition or description of what happens beyond death. But for the moment, I'm going to read my poem, Breathe. And I hope that everyone who's watching this has been touched, like Catherine and myself, by its content, and that it is faith-inducing, and that it inspires you to breathe a bit longer, and to have a life that's at peace with the love that is within you. So this is Breathe. The ego fails me, the authentic me. I see no point in its drama. I am alive. I am sentient. I am aware. I am awake. I am conscious. I am breathing. My breath is who I am. And yet, when my breathing ends, when my physicality is done with, I will fill the universe with my presence. All the pettiness of what seemed important will be engulfed with love. The love which is my real purpose here. Therefore, I am at peace as I breathe. Breathe. Namaste.